The lights were bright in the studio. Cameras rolled as millions watched the live political debate on CNN and Al Jazeera. Reporters sat in the back rows, typing notes and sending live updates to their newsrooms. Chief Justice John Roberts was in the audience as a surprise guest. He wasn't expected to speak much. He'd been invited to share thoughts about constitutional law. But no one knew he had other plans. On stage, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett sat tall in her chair. She was famous for being clever, tough, and popular with young voters. She wore a confident smile as the moderator began with friendly questions about the economy and healthcare. The audience seemed relaxed at first, but things changed quickly. The moderator cleared his throat and asked in a sharp voice, "Congresswoman Crockett, can you explain the accusation that you misused campaign funds for personal trips and gifts?" The room fell silent. Jasmine's smile faded. She narrowed her eyes. "That is a lie," she snapped. "There's no evidence for that." The moderator pushed harder. "Your critics say there's proof of luxury hotels and flights charged. 2 campaign accounts. How do you answer?" She shifted in her seat. She wasn't used to being cornered on live TV. "I answer by saying this is a political stunt. You're trying to distract from real issues," the crowd murmured. Reporters began texting furiously. Then something unexpected happened. Chief Justice John Roberts stood up slowly from his seat in the front row. Cameras turned to him immediately. The moderator froze in surprise. Roberts held up an official-looking document. His voice was calm but strong. "As Chief Justice, I have an announcement," he said. Jasmine Crockett glared at him. "What are you doing?" she asked loudly. Roberts ignored her. He read from the paper. "By the authority of the court, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is ordered to pay a $200,000 penalty for contempt of court and defamation in connection with a previous lawsuit." Gasps filled the studio. Crockett stood up, knocking her chair back with a loud bang. "Are you serious? You've planned this?" On live TV, Roberts looked at her over his glasses. "This is a lawful order." Cameras zoomed in on Jasmine's face. Her eyes blazed with fury. "You're trying to humiliate me," she shouted. "This is nothing but political theater." The moderator tried to calm things down. "Please, Congresswoman, let's keep this civil." She rounded on him. "Civil? You ambush me with fake accusations and let him deliver a court order on television. Is that journalism to you?" The audience shifted uncomfortably. Some clapped. Others booed. Roberts held the paper out toward her. "This is an official document. You may take it." She refused. "Read it all. Read every lie in there," she said. Roberts paused. He read the entire text. The words were legal, formal, but they all boiled down to one thing. Crockett owed $200,000 as a fine for ignoring a prior court ruling and defaming a plaintiff. Crockett's lip trembled. For a moment, it seemed she might cry. But she wiped her eyes angrily and forced her voice to stay steady. "Do you think you broke me?" she said. "You think reading that makes me weak? I've faced worse than you in my life." Reporters were now standing, filming on their phones. The words "breaking news" flashed across TV screens worldwide. Robert's voice softened a little. "You may answer these charges in court, but you will pay the penalty." Jasmine took a deep breath. She turned to the audience. "You all see this, right? This is what they do when they can't beat you fairly. They smear you. They use courts as weapons. They make a circus out of justice." Some people applauded. Others booed louder. The moderator tried to regain control. "We need to move on." Jasmine held up her hand. "No, let the cameras keep rolling. Let the whole world see this." Her voice cracked, but she didn't stop. "They want me quiet. They want me embarrassed. But I'm still here. I will fight them. And I will not pay 1 cent until I see a real courtroom with a real trial, not this clown show." Reporters rushed to get close. Microphones crowded her. "Face, Congresswoman, are you saying you'll defy the court?" One shouted she turned to the camera directly. I'm saying I will expose every rotten deal behind this. I dare them to try and jail me." The moderator called for a break. The screen faded to the bright red words. "Breaking news." In the control room, producers yelled instructions. Reporters called their bosses. Social media lit up with hashtags. Outside the studio, police gathered. Protesters shouted slogans. The news wasn't just about policy anymore. It was about power, revenge, and a fight playing out in front of the WA. Entire world. The debate had become something else entirely. A war on live TV. The studio was in chaos. Producers shouted into headsets. Cameramen scrambled to get better angles. The breaking news banner kept flashing at the bottom of the screen. Chief Justice Roberts stood firm, the court order still in his hand. His expression was cold and unreadable. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett refused to sit back down. She planted herself in the center of the stage, glaring at the cameras. "This is the face of injustice," she said loudly. "Let them show it. On every channel." The moderator's voice cracked as he tried to calm the situation. "Congresswoman Crockett, please, this is a debate, not a courtroom." She pointed at him. "Exactly. So why is a Chief Justice serving papers here? Why is he allowed to accuse me without due process? Is this normal to you?" The audience erupted. People clapped and cheered for her defiance. Others booed and yelled for her to pay the fine and leave. Reporters crowded closer. "Congresswoman, do you deny the charges?" one asked. She didn't flinch. "I deny the corruption in that paper. I deny that a judge can play politics on national TV. And I deny that I will be silent." Roberts finally spoke again, his voice low but picked up clearly by his mic. "You have the right to challenge the ruling in court, Congresswoman, but you will be held accountable." Crockett turned to him, eyes blazing. "I'll see you in court, a real one. Not your stage show." He held her gaze. For the first time, there was a flicker of emotion on his face. Regret, maybe, or frustration. The moderator tried to salvage the broadcast. "Let's take a short break," but Crockett refused. "Don't cut away. Let them see it all. Let them hear me." She looked straight into the camera lens. Young people, working people, anyone who's been silenced, this is what they do to you, okay? They accuse you of crimes. They fine you into poverty. They use courts and cameras to humiliate you. Don't look away." Her voice trembled again. Tears pooled in her eyes, but she wiped them quickly. "You don't beat them by hiding. You beat them by telling the truth, no matter how ugly it is." Control room panicked. Producers debated whether to cut the feed. But they couldn't. This was the biggest live moment they'd ever had. The camera cut to Roberts. He closed the court document slowly. "This is not personal, Congresswoman. It's the law." She barked a bitter laugh. "Spare me your law. This is politics in a robe." The moderator's voice cracked. "Congresswoman Crockett, will you pay the $200,000 fine?" She faced him. "No, not until they prove I owe it. Not until there's an actual trial. They want me bankrupt before the election. It's not going to work." Reporters kept asking questions. "Will you step down from office? Will you call for an investigation? Do you think Roberts should be removed?" She held up a hand to silence them. "I will not step down. I will call for investigations. And I think any judge who uses his power to crush political opponents should resign immediately." The crowd roared. Some people chanted her name. Others shouted insults. Roberts didn't respond. He gathered his papers and turned to leave. But before he could step away, she called out one last time. "Chief Justice Roberts, this isn't over. You picked this fight on TV. I'll finish it in court. And I'll do it with the whole world watching." He paused but didn't turn back. Security moved in quietly, trying to guide the crowd back to order. The moderator declared another break, voice shaking. But the damage was done. Outside the studio, protesters and supporters clashed. News vans lined the street. Police tried to form barricades. Helicopters filmed the chaos from above. Inside, producers yelled at each other over what to air next. "Stay live," one ordered. "Get the reaction panel ready," another shouted. Social. Media exploded. Hashtags trended worldwide. Hashtag Crockett vs. Roberts. Hashtag political trial. Hashtag 200KFI KneeLive. Commentators argued on other channels. She broke the law and got what she deserved. No, this is judicial overreach. It's all for ratings. Meanwhile, Jasmine Crockett finally left the stage head high. She looked exhausted, her makeup smudged with tears she wouldn't admit were there. Her staff closed ranks around her, shielding her from cameras. "Let's go," her advisor said. She shook her head. "No, let them see me walk out." She didn't hide. She faced every camera because she knew this fight had only just begun. By the next morning, the entire country was talking about it. Clips from the debate played on every news channel. Headlines screamed about the confrontation. Judge Roberts serves $200,000 fine live on air. Crockett's defiant meltdown goes viral. Is this justice or political warfare? CNN and Al Jazeera ran the footage on repeat. Talk show hosts debated it for hours. Analysts split into angry camps. Some said Roberts was right, that no one was above the law. She was held in contempt before they insisted he just enforced the ruling. Others said he crossed the line. A judge humiliating a politician on TV. "That's a show trial," they shouted. Protests broke out in front of government buildings. Some people held signs saying, "Pay the fine." Others waved banners reading, "Stop the ambush" and "Justice, not politics." News helicopters filmed the crowds from above. Police formed lines, keeping them apart. Inside her campaign office, Jasmine Crockett slumped in her chair. Her team hovered nearby, watching her nervously. She looked exhausted. Her voice was hoarse from shouting the night before, but her eyes were still fierce. Her top advisor cleared his throat. "Congresswoman, we need to talk strategy. This ... This went global." She didn't look up. "Good." He blinked. "Good. They're saying you had a meltdown." She scoffed. "Let them. The people saw it." "All of it? That wasn't a meltdown." That was the truth. Another aide tried to be gentle. "'Kay, ma'am, you're going to need a legal team. A real one." "'Kay." She sat up finally. "Get me the best lawyers. Get me the loudest activists. Get me anyone who actually cares about real justice." Phone buzzed nonstop with calls and texts. Messages flooded in. "We stand with you. Pay the fine and save your career. You're a hero. You're finished." She read them all, face blank. Then she turned to her aide. "Call a press conference." The aide looked alarmed. "Today?" "You sure?" Jasmine nodded firmly. "Today, now, while the cameras are still hot." Outside, reporters were already gathering. Microphones pointed at her campaign office door when she finally emerged. Flashing bulbs nearly blinded her. A roar went up. "Jasmine! Jasmine! Over here!" She raised her hand for silence. It didn't come immediately, but she waited until the noise died enough to speak. Her voice cracked, but she forced it steady. "Last night you saw the truth. A judge used his authority to try to shame me on live TV. He read out a fine designed to bankrupt me. Without warning, without a fair fight." Shouts erupted. She kept going. "They want you to see me broken, crying, finished. But I'm not. I'm here." Reporters yelled questions. "Will you pay the $200,000? She shook her head. "I will see them in court. A real court. Not a TV stage. Not a political show." Another asked, "Do you regret your outburst?" She stared at them. Was it an outburst to demand fairness? Was it an outburst to ask for evidence? If so, then I'm guilty. The crowd murmured. A third reporter yelled, "Do you think Judge Roberts should resign?" She didn't hesitate. Yes, any judge who thinks his courtroom is a television studio has no business on the bench. Gasps and cheers mixed. She raised her voice even louder. Let me be clear, I will not be silent. I will not be bought. I will not be bullied. If they want to fight, they have one. And they'll have it in front of the whole world. Applause broke out among her supporters. Crockett wiped her eyes again, this time with a smile. I'm not ashamed of my tears. They mean I still feel, I still care. I'm not a robot reading a script. I'm a human being fighting for what's right. The cameras caught every word. Her advisor signaled for her to stop, but she refused. I'm not going anywhere. Not today, not tomorrow, not after they try to bankrupt me. So you can tell the Chief Justice this. She pointed at the closest camera. I'll see you in court, right? And I'll see you at the ballot box. The feed cut away eventually, but the damage was done. News outlets raced to analyze every line. Hashtags trended even harder. The nation was divided, and Jasmine Crockett, for better or worse, was now the most talked about politician in the country. That night, the city didn't sleep. Protesters stayed out in the streets, waving signs and chanting slogans. Police lights flashed red and blue across the crowds. Helicopters thundered overhead, broadcasting live images of tense standoffs. News anchors talked nonstop, arguing about the confrontation. One panelist shouted, "She's a fraud who refused to pay a legal penalty." Another fired back, "She was ambushed on television by a judge who wants to destroy her campaign." Across social media, the fight raged even harder. Posts piled up. Hashtag stand with Crockett. Hashtag Roberts resign. Hashtag pay the fine. Hashtag corrupt courts. People picked sides like it was a war in the middle of it all. Chief Justice Roberts sat alone in his dark office. Stacks of papers covered his desk. His glasses lay on top of a thick law book. He rubbed his eyes. He'd done interviews earlier that evening. He tried to explain himself in calm, measured words. This was not political. It was a lawful order. She was found in contempt, and she refused to pay. But the clips made him look cold, stern, unbending. Now he was tired. His phone buzzed with texts. "Good job, John. Hold her accountable. You ruined your reputation. Resign now before they force you out." He scrolled through them. Silently, he opened his email. Subject line, "Formal complaint against Chief Justice Roberts." He sighed. He knew it was coming. Across town, Jasmine Crockett was in her campaign headquarters. She didn't look tired anymore. She looked furious. Her team spread out stacks of papers and tablets on a table. "These are all the donations we spent," her advisor said. "We can prove none of it was personal." She pointed at the screen showing last night's broadcast. "Play it again." They hesitated. Men, you've seen it 100 times. "Play it," she ordered. They did. She watched herself screaming at Roberts, calling him a liar, wiping angry tears away. When it ended, she didn't flinch. "Good," she said. Her advisor rubbed his face. "Some people think you went too far, that you lost control." Jasmine slammed her palm on the table. "I didn't lose control. I showed the truth. You think voters want another plastic politician who sits there and smiles while they're destroyed? I want them to see my anger." Silence. Finally, her campaign manager spoke up. "Fine, but you need to be strategic. This is going to trial, and the whole country is watching." Jasmine leaned in. "I don't let them watch. I want every hearing public, every document released. I want cameras in the courtroom if they'll let us. No more closed doors." The team nodded slowly. One aide whispered, "That's dangerous. They'll pick apart every mistake you make." She smiled grimly. "Good. Let them try." Meanwhile, government officials scrambled behind the scenes. The Attorney General held an emergency meeting. "Is this even legal?" someone asked. "Can Roberts deliver a fine on live TV like that?" Lawyers argued. Some said he broke protocol. Others said it was technically valid. Disgraceful? Politicians scrambled to react. Some rushed to condemn Roberts. Disgraceful misuse of the bench. A political hit job. Others attacked Crockett. "She's a criminal playing the victim. This is classic deflection from wrongdoing." Campaign donors threatened to pull funding on both sides. By morning, headlines were even worse. Chaos in American justice system, judge and Congresswoman declare war, who's really on trial here? Polls showed Jasmine's support among young voters had jumped. But older voters turned away from her in droves. Fundraising soared, but so did death threats. Her security team doubled in size. She refused to hide. She did interviews on every network that would have her. She sat down with reporters who loved her and reporters who hated her every time. She said the same thing. I will fight this in court, and I will do it in public. No one will silence me. Roberts also went on camera, voice steady. She will be treated like any citizen under the law. She will have her day in court, but she cannot defy a lawful order without consequences. But when he looked into the lens, there was a flicker of regret, because even he knew this wasn't just about $200,000 anymore. It was about power, about truth, about whether anyone in America could ever be held accountable or silenced live on television, and the entire world was watching to see who would win. A week later, the entire country held its breath. Cameras lined the courthouse steps. Reporters jostled for position. Protesters shouted on both sides of police barricades. Signs waved in the summer heat. Justice for Jasmine, nitrogen monoxide one is. Above the law stopped the show trial inside the courthouse. It was standing room only. Jasmine Crockett walked in flanked by lawyers. She wore a simple black suit. Her hair was tied back. Her expression was hard as stone. Reporters snapped photo after photo. She didn't smile. Chief Justice John Roberts sat at the elevated bench. He didn't look at her as she entered. The court clerk read the charges in a flat voice. Failure to pay $200,000 penalty for contempt of court and defamation. Refusal to comply with lawful court order. The murmurs in the room grew louder until the bailiff banged his staff for silence. Jasmine's lawyer rose. We move to dismiss these charges on grounds of due process violations. The penalty was served in a public forum meant to embarrass and damage my client politically. Gasps in the gallery. Robert's gaze finally lifted. His voice was cold. The penalty was issued in response to her failure to comply with a previous order. Jasmine stood up suddenly. Your Honor, may I speak? Her lawyer grabbed her sleeve. Jasmine, don't. She shook him off. Roberts narrowed his eyes. You may speak. She stepped forward. Her voice shook at first, then steadied. You want to find me? Go ahead. You want to ruin me? Try. But do it the right way. Don't read a court order on live television like it's a reality show elimination. Don't use your robe to humiliate me because you hate what I stand for. Robert's mouth tightened. She wasn't finished. You say you're defending the law? Fine. Then let the law do its work. Hold a real hearing. Let the public see the evidence. Put me on trial fairly. If I lose, I'll pay every cent. But don't tell me you're a judge if you're going to act like a politician. The room fell silent. Roberts leaned back in his chair. He didn't speak for several seconds. Finally, he said quietly, well, we will hold a full hearing on the merits. Both sides will present evidence. The public may attend. Cameras will be allowed. A buzz went through the crowd. Jasmine's lawyer whispered fiercely, That's insane. Cameras in here. They'll dissect everything. Jasmine didn't blink. Good. Roberts banged the gavel. Court will reconvene tomorrow morning to begin evidentiary hearings. The bailiff called for order as the room exploded in noise. Outside, reporters delivered breathless updates. Tomorrow's hearing will be televised nationwide. This is unprecedented. The courtroom is now the battleground for America's deepest divisions. Meanwhile, Jasmine walked out to face the press. They screamed questions. Do you think you'll win? Are you trying to destroy Judge Roberts? Why not just pay the fine? She held up her hand for silence. When it finally came, she spoke clearly. I'm not here to win or lose. I'm here to tell the truth. If they can silence me this way, they can silence anyone. I'm fighting for every single person who's ever been crushed because they couldn't afford a lawyer or a fine. So Yasiel see them in court. The whole world will see it too. Cheers and boos mixed in the crowd. Her campaign staff was already planning statements, fundraising emails, security details. Across town, Robert sat in his chambers, staring at the legal briefs. His clerk asked, "Sir, are you sure about this? Cameras in the courtroom." Roberts didn't look up. "She asked for the law to do its work in the open. She's right. That's what we'll do." The clerk hesitated. "Sir, ... it's single quotes as going to be a circus." Roberts sighed heavily. "Then let them see the circus. Let them see everything." The nation's eyes turned to the courthouse. Commentators argued. On TV all night. She's brave. She's reckless. He's principled. It's vindictive. Polls shifted wildly. Donations poured in for both sides. Everyone knew the next day wouldn't just be a trial. It would be a spectacle. And no one could predict how it would end. The next morning dawned gray and heavy with summer heat. By sunrise, hundreds of people were already outside the courthouse. Police put up new barricades. Protesters banged drums and chanted slogans. Reporters, in suits, wiped sweat from their foreheads as they went live on TV. "We are here at the courthouse where history is about to be made. Cameras are allowed inside for the first day of this unprecedented hearing." Inside, the air was tense. Cameras sat on silent tripods, blinking red lights as they streamed live to millions. Chief Justice John Roberts entered the courtroom, robes swishing. He sat tall and straight, face grim. Jasmine Crockett was already at the defense table. She wore navy blue this time. Her hair was neatly done. She looked calm, but her eyes burned. Her lawyer whispered, "Just remember, they're watching. Everything. Don't react." She didn't answer. Roberts banged his gavel once. "Court is in session." He looked out at the packed gallery and the blinking cameras. "I remind everyone, this is a court of law. There will be order." The prosecutor stood. "Your Honor, this case is simple. Congresswoman Crockett was fined $200,000 for contempt and defamation. She ignored the order. She made a mockery of this court. She should pay immediately." He held up thick folders. "Here is the evidence of the original ruling, signed and sealed." Roberts took the papers, examining them silently. The defense lawyer rose slowly. "Your Honor, we contend that the fine itself is legally suspect. But more importantly, the manner in which it was served violated her rights. My client was ambushed on live television in front of millions with no notice and no chance to respond. That's not justice. That's spectacle." The cameras zoomed in on Jasmine. She didn't flinch. The prosecutor laughed bitterly. "She says it was spectacle. She created that spectacle by screaming at the Chief Justice and refusing a lawful order." Jasmine shot up from her seat. I'm not going to let you say I deserved that stunt. I will not let you call what happened justice." Her lawyer hissed. "Sit down." Roberts slammed his gavel. "Order." The courtroom fell silent. Roberts' face was stone. "Congresswoman Crockett, you will have your chance to speak in full. Not like this." She sat back slowly, breathing hard. The defense lawyer cleared his throat. "Your Honor, my client was publicly humiliated with no warning. She had no representation. She had no chance to contest the fine. We demand this penalty be vacated on due process grounds." The prosecutor rolled his eyes. She could have come to court at any time. She chose defiance. She used the cameras to attack this institution and whip up political support. The gallery roared. The judge's gavel rang out. "Enough." Roberts snapped. He took a deep breath. His eyes moved between the lawyers, the cameras, and Jasmine herself. "I will hear testimony." The prosecutor called witnesses first. A court clerk who confirmed the fine had been properly filed. An expert who said it was enforceable immediately. They tried to make it sound simple. Boring? Then it was the defense's turn. They called campaign staffers who described Jasmine's reaction when she saw Roberts in the audience. She didn't even know he was coming, one said, voice shaking. They set her up. They wanted her humiliated. Jasmine's lawyer stood in front of the jury box event. Though there was no jury, just Camerzan spoke carefully. This isn't about whether you like her. It's about whether any American deserves to be shamed on live television with no warning. If it can happen to her, it can happen to you. Roberts listened in silence, tapping his pen once in a while. Finally, he said, "Congresswoman Crockett, you may speak on your own behalf." She stood. The room went silent. Her voice was low. "I'm not asking anyone to like me. I'm not asking you to forget what I said on that stage. I'm asking you to admit that this was wrong." She swallowed. "I deserved a day in court before being handed a massive fine on TV. That's all. If I lose here, I'll pay it. But I won't let you say it was fair to surprise me like that. I won't let you pretend it wasn't political." Her voice broke just a little. "I'm not crying because I'm weak. I'm crying because I'm furious." She wiped her eyes with shaking hands. "I want people to see this, every second of it. Because this is what real power does to you when you won't back down." Silence. The cameras captured every tear, every tremor in her voice. Roberts closed his eyes for a moment. Then he looked out over the courtroom, over the watching country. He cleared his throat. "This court will recess until tomorrow. I will consider all arguments and evidence before issuing my ruling." The gavel fell. Chaos erupted again outside. Reporters screamed questions. Protesters cheered or jeered, and in living rooms across America, people argued, took sides, and waited to see who would win the war that had started on live television and now threatened to shake the entire system. The sun rose red over the courthouse. It felt like the whole country held its breath. Outside, the crowds were even bigger. Protesters and supporters faced off, chanting and waving signs. Police lined the steps. Reporters broadcast live updates to millions watching around the world. Inside, the air was heavy. Chief Justice John Roberts sat alone at the bench. Robes, neat, face set. Papers were stacked neatly in front of him. He was early. He always was. But today he felt old. The cameras were already rolling. He could hear their faint hum. At exactly 9 a.m., the courtroom doors swung open. Jasmine Crockett entered, surrounded by her legal team. She wore white. Her face was calm, her jaw tight. She didn't look at the crowd, only at Roberts. She took her seat. The defense and prosecution whispered to each other, final notes in hand. Roberts tapped his gavel once. "Court is in session." Silence fell. He looked at both sides. Then, at the cameras. "This matter has drawn enormous public interest. Emotions are high. Accusations of political abuse, judicial misconduct, and defiance of the rule of law have all been made." His voice was clear but weary. "I have reviewed all testimony and evidence. I have read every filing. I have watched the footage." He turned to Jasmine. "Congresswoman Crockett, the contempt and defamation judgment against you was valid. You were lawfully fined $200,000. You failed to pay." Murmurs ran through the gallery. Her lawyer whispered, "Stay calm." Roberts held up a hand. However, the room froze. He let the word hang. The method of enforcement was inappropriate. Serving a penalty on live television without prior notice violated principles of due process. It undermined the dignity of this court. And it damaged public trust in the judiciary. Gasps. Jasmine blinked rapidly. Robert's voice cracked slightly. "I regret my role in that decision. It was wrong." Silence fell so hard it felt heavy. He took a deep breath. "Therefore, I am vacating the enforcement of the $200,000 fine as it was issued on live television. It is suspended." Reporters jumped to their feet. He banged the gavel. Order! When the room quieted, he continued. Instead, I am remanding the case for a new hearing with full rights to counsel, proper service, and the opportunity to contest all charges in a standard proceeding. If the court finds her liable again, she will pay. He looked directly at Jasmine. You will not be spared the law, but you will be given the law. All of it. Her mouth trembled. She swallowed hard. Thank you, she whispered. He nodded, voice low. Do not thank me. Thank the law. He turned to the cameras. I hope that people watching understand this is not a show. Justice must be signed, but it must also be done fairly. He paused one last time. This hearing is adjourned. The gavel fell. Cameras followed every moment. Jasmine stood slowly. Her lawyer squeezed her shoulder. You did it, he said. She shook her head. It's not over. It's just fair now. Outside, the crowd screamed and cheered. Protesters waved #Justice for Jasmine. Banners. Others shouted, pay the fine, even louder. Her staff hustled her to the steps. Reporters mobbed her. Congresswoman, how do you feel about the ruling? She raised her hand. Silence rippled through the crowd. She spoke into the cameras. I didn't come here to get away with anything. I came here to get treated like any other American. Today, I got that chance. Tomorrow, I'll fight the case. And win or lose, it will be in the open where everyone can see. Cheers, boos. She added one last thing, voice shaking with emotion. To every young person watching, don't let them tell you to shut up. Don't let them tell you to sit down. Make them see you. Flashes popped. The image went live around the world. Inside the courthouse, Robert sat alone for a moment. He took off his glasses, rubbed his eyes. He whispered to himself, let them see, 'cause both of them knew something had changed that day. This wasn't just a trial anymore. It was a warning that power would be challenged, and that even the law itself was on trial in front of the entire world. Ask ChatGPT.